Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. This is going to be the start of a series of reviews, and it will be me reviewing the Harry Potter book series. Allow me to explain. Growing up, when I was a teenager, when Harry Potter was coming out, I was never actually into the books. I had no interest in it. I was more interested in stuff that teenagers at my time, male teenager, would be interested in. Professional wrestling, video games, comic books, and about anything that had violence in it. And Keanu Reeves. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, I just wasn't interested in Harry Potter when it came out. It didn't spark any interest with me. And recently, I've been finding out that a lot of my friends are big Harry Potter fans, and even a lot of my coworkers. And one of my coworkers I've been talking to over the summer, and we've been talking comic books, oddly enough. Don't worry, this will actually lead back to Harry Potter. And I got her interested in some comic book characters. So much so that I said, DC's relaunching the comics, you should check this out. And she was hesitant about this. And she was talking about Harry Potter to me, and we were, just talking back and forth and actually comparing comic books and Harry Potter. It was kind of an odd dichotomy of a discussion between the two topics, but we were doing it. And she actually sparked a little interest in Harry Potter in me. Not enough for me to want to pick up the books. However, we made a deal. The deal was this. She would pick up Nightwing's comic, because that's her favorite comic book character, and she would read it continuously, monthly, when it comes out, and any other comics that I recommend to her. And in response, I would read the 7 Harry Potter books. She would loan me the books, although I have bought a few of them because no matter what, if the book is good or bad, I buy it anyways because I like to collect stuff. But I would read the Harry Potter books, and I would also watch the movies and do a compare and contrast between the two. At this point that I am doing this video, which is going to be 9/9/011, on the 9th of September, 011, silly me, I've read up to 3 books, and I'm currently in the 4th book. I believe I'm on the chapter Mad-Eye Moody. So I'm on the 4th book right now. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to review Harry Potter. Why not? It's a big franchise and a very popular franchise, but it's also hitting a different demographic than that I'm part of. It's usually geared towards a younger demographic, or at least I thought it would be. And the only thing that really, right off the bat, that I would be attracted to would be the fact that it's set in a magical world, because I like fantasy. So the question is this, will the Harry Potter series be good for someone my age, or for people of all ages? Is it just an overall well-written series? Or is this something geared more towards kids? That is something I'll eventually answer when I finish the final book, which may take a bit because I'm going to take time off to read some more Star Wars books. After the 4th book, I'm taking a little bit of break. But with that said, I would start off my review series with none other than the first book, which is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And that will be the review that I am doing today. Now, before I actually get into the book itself, let me lay down some information about the Harry Potter universe to those out there that actually haven't read the books like I have. Harry Potter's universe is similar to ours, and I believe it's set in the 80s. If I'm incorrect, please let me know. This isn't comic books, so I'm not infinitely knowledgeable in this, although I'm not infinitely knowledgeable in comic books. But you get what I'm saying. I'm reading this for the first time, so I'll be rusty on some of the details. But the Harry Potter universe is similar to ours, set in the 80s, and there's basically 2 worlds in the Harry Potter universe. There is the magic world, which has witchcraft and wizardry, and then there is the muggle world. And muggles are basically us, people that can't do magic. Not that that's a bad thing. Technically, Batman would be a muggle. But anyways, there is the witches and wizards, let's just say casters, and then there are the muggles. And you have to be born with the ability to cast magic. You have to be born as a witch or a wizard. A muggle can't necessarily do magic, or as far as I can know. However, people can, it's something that's randomly that they're born with. For example, one of the main characters in this, Hermione, her parents are muggles. However, she has the ability to cast magic. Harry's mother was a caster, but her sister, Harry's aunt, isn't. So it's something that you're born with. In addition to that, there was also this dark lord called Voldemort going around and just killing people. Voldemort, there we go. I kind of did a weird screw up on his name, but Voldemort was going around and killing people. This is kind of dark age of magic. However, Voldemort was stopped. By whom? Well, I think we all know. But I'll get into that when I review the book. So with that said, I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as I can, although I'm going to have to lay down some details. And let's get into a review of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, book number 1. The book starts off with an introduction to 3 of the more secondary, semi-main characters. Dumbledore, Mrs. McGonagall, or Professor McGonagall, and then Hagrid. And Hagrid is showing up on this random street with Dumbledore and McGonagall, and he's bringing a child. This child would be Harry Potter. Now, let me explain why he's bringing this child to them. Voldemort was going around and just critical hitting everyone. He was getting within a good threat range. He was rolling 20s. He was confirming the criticals. He was just killing everyone. And he went to go kill Harry's parents. He was pretty damn successful. However, he went to go kill Harry, and it didn't work. Harry was the one person to survive. Harry's a baby, mind you, like 1 year old. But Harry survived, and Voldemort disappeared. I'm not going to go into detail exactly the mechanics on what happened, but Voldemort was gone, and Harry was the one that survived him, and the last one to be in the presence of Voldemort. So, with no family that are alive, at least his mother and father, Hagrid gives Harry to Dumbledore, and then Dumbledore gives Harry to his aunt and uncle. Boy, is his uncle and aunt just horrible people. There's a reason why he goes to his aunt and uncle, but he goes to his aunt and uncle, and they raise him, and they treat him horribly, absolutely atrociously. They know who he is, and they know what he is. They know he can cast magic because Harry's aunt knows his mother could cast magic. So they treat him horribly, and they try to keep him from that magical world. So he grows up thinking he's a normal boy. He's a cousin, too, and his cousin's a little twit. Which can be funny sometimes, but still a little twit. However, eventually, Harry gets a letter. And he never gets a letter because, again, his uncle and aunt are pretty abusive guardians. They keep him under the stairs. And this letter is to the School of Hogwarts, of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Hogwarts is one of the schools out there. There's several schools for wizardry and witchcraft and casting, but Hogwarts is going to be the main one we're going to deal with in this book series. Others do show up, particularly in the 4th book, but we're going to focus just on Hogwarts, and Harry gets an invitation. Try as they must, his aunt and uncle try to keep him going from Hogwarts. However, Hagrid shows up and informs Harry on exactly what he is. He's a wizard. Hagrid then informs Harry about all the stuff he needs for Hogwarts. They get his materials, his books, his owl, his wand, his cape, his gowns, and all the other stuff that he needs, and he goes to Hogwarts. Upon reaching Hogwarts, he makes some friends, particularly Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. I hope I said her last name right. And he also makes enemies, particularly Draco Malfoy. I love Draco Malfoy. He's such a fun bad guy. He's one of those bad guys that will just come up to you and go, you know, I'm better than you because my parents have more money than you do. Actually, one of the run-on gags is that the Malfoy family makes fun of the Weasleys for being less fortunate money-wise. But he makes friends with Ron and Hermione, and he makes enemies with Draco. And the first year really deals with Harry kind of situating himself in this world. He becomes an incredible Quidditch player, becoming the youngest Quidditch player in Hogwarts. Now you're probably asking, what's Quidditch? Think of Quidditch like soccer or basketball with, with broomsticks. Basically, the players are on broomsticks. They fly across the sky, and they try to get various different balls into the hoops to score points. There's one particular ball, the golden snitch, or I think it's snitch. And if you grab that, you win the game and you get 100 points. And Harry is very good at this. Actually, in his first game, he's able to catch that golden snitch. So he's very good at flying on a broom. We also find out more about his friends. Ron, although not that great at magic, is a very technically sound person. He is strategically smart. He's actually the best, one of the best chess players in all of Hogwarts. And although he can be goofy sometimes, he is very resilient and he can overcome fear pretty well because he's scared of a lot of stuff, but he overcomes his fear. Hermione is very by the book smart. She's an excellent wizard, or she's a witch technically, and she learns stuff really quickly. Very smart and very resourceful. However, she's not quite as strategically smart as Ron or as gifted with flying on a broomstick as Harry. And the best way to compare it is Harry is probably potentially the most powerful of the three, but Hermione is the most skilled, and then Ron's kind of somewhere in between. Ron's skills really aren't with magic; it's more along in his brain. You really don't see it, but if you look at it hard enough, you find Ron is actually a resourceful person. We find some of the teachers, and Hogwarts is broken up into several different houses. There's Gryffindor, which is where Ron, Hermione, and Harry go to, which is led by Professor McGonagall. You have Slytherin, where Draco went with his friends, which is led by Professor Snape, who is the potion master, who hates Harry for a particular reason. There's Ravenclaw, which I don't even know who the head of that is yet. I'm on book 4. Maybe it's revealed later. And then Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff. Weird name. And all the houses kind of compete with each other. Throughout the year, Harry finds out about something called the Sorcerer's Stone. And the Sorcerer's Stone has the ability to bring people pretty much back to life if they were on the verge of death. In addition to that, give them immortality. Allow them to create an elixir that gives them immortality. And, while the Sorcerer's Stone is in Hogwarts, and someone is after it. Who it is, I won't reveal, but it's up to Harry and his friends to find out and to stop this individual because they plan on using the Sorcerer's Stone for a devious, evil thing. And that's the basic plot of the first book without giving too much away. So with that said, let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, the one thing I can say about the Harry Potter universe that I really like, that you get off right off the bat, is that it's a fantastic cast of supporting characters. There's characters in this like Oliver Wood and Dean Thompson and Seamus and Neville Longhorn that are really minor characters that continue throughout the whole entire book series, like the Weasley twins, Fred and George. These are minor characters, but they're great supporting characters, and they only really have to show up for you to understand who they are, and you get a kind of a sense of these characters. There's a good balance between the trio, the Hermione, Harry, and Ron, and like I said, they have their own talents. Harry is very powerful with magic. He has untapped ability, at least from what I can see. He's skilled flyer, skilled Quidditch player, and he picks up things pretty quick. However, he's also kind of stupid to the world of magic. He's not quite educated as the other two. Hermione is very studious. She can pick up spells very quickly, and she's very resourceful, but she relies on magic a lot, and she's not easy to adapt to other situations, which is the opposite of Ron, which Ron is probably the weakest with magic. He's kind of a klutz. However, he's quick to adapt. He is also very strategically sound, very smart strategically, and he's a gifted individual whose abilities are very untapped. So there's a nice balance between the three. And I also like the teachers, particularly my favorite being Professor McGonagall. I like her. She stood out the most to me. Kind of that tough love kind of teacher. Although Snape's pretty badass too. In addition to that, I also like the world of Harry Potter. I like how it's kind of a modernized fantasy world. I like the idea of Hogwarts, to the point that I actually introduced kind of a pseudo-Hogwarts into my D&D world. It's not called Hogwarts, but it has kind of the same idea, school for wizards, and it has houses and such. But I like the idea of Hogwarts. I think it's an interesting idea. I enjoy that. I love the Quidditch stuff. Some of my favorite stuff is Quidditch. I don't know why, but I think it's just kind of a cool thing. And I like the overall tone of the stories too. You know, how you're with Harry and you're learning with him. Harry is really kind of the gateway for the reader, which is kind of good. So I like that. And I also like the villains that kind of show up. Or not villains, but the opposition for Harry, which is Draco, the main villain, who I'm not going to reveal, and also Snape. Snape, although isn't technically a bad guy, like Draco isn't a bad guy either, at least not now, but they're definitely opposition for Harry. And I also like the overall ending to the book, especially the last part with Neville, which I thought was pretty fun, and it was touched right here. It was pretty good. Bad. A lot of plot holes in this. There's a lot of stuff that I saw that I just kind of said, well, if they could do that, why don't they do that? Or if they do that, why can't they do that? I'm sure a lot of these get explained later, but for a person picking up the first book, you kind of question this stuff. For example, I know it's explained later why Harry needs to be with his aunt and uncle, but in the first book, they don't explain anything. You're kind of like, these are abusive people. I'm sure there's a bunch of wizards and witches out there that would love to adopt Harry and give him a loving home, like the Weasleys. But no, he has to stay with his abusive aunt and uncle. There's a purpose, but we don't get it early on. But there are a lot of plot holes in this. I'm sure, again, I'm only on the fourth book. I know a lot of stuff probably gets filled in, but leaving the reader in the dark about this stuff and questioning a few stuff isn't necessarily a good thing. So I didn't like that. I thought the overall story was a little weak, the Sorcerer's Stone aspect. We really don't get a true villain until the end, although it's supported by the fun of learning stuff with Harry and being introduced to this world, which is good. But I mean, the story was a little bit weak, and I didn't care for it too much. Probably because I already saw the movie before going to this book, but still, and I didn't really care for the overall arc. It was just, this is supported more by its mini stuff, the side stuff, rather than the overall arc. So I really didn't care for that. And although we do introduce these characters in this world, and they all are kind of different, I would like to see a little bit more from these characters in the first book. I would have liked to see a little bit more to stand out about them, a little bit more personality. Some of them really didn't have all too much personality to me. Dumbledore in particular, we do get a sense of him, and we get a sense that he's almost kind of, omnipresent. He knows what's going on, but we don't get enough information about him. He's a major character, and I want a little bit more about him. On the whole, what's my final thoughts on it? Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is a good introduction to the Harry Potter universe. It establishes the groundwork, it establishes the universe, it establishes the characters, it establishes a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time. This is, I believe, only 17 chapters? I could be wrong. Yeah, 17 chapters. Wow, I'm pretty good. So it introduces a lot and sets the groundwork very nicely in the first book in a short amount of time. And as part of the series, it works very nicely. As an individual story, it's good. It's enjoyable. It's a quick read. It's something that you'll go through quickly. I went through in less than 3 hours. I just sat there and I went data on it. I just went, there we go, read it. It's okay. It has its plot holes. It has its small gripes that I have, but those are overshadowed by the fact that it has a good story, good foundation, good characters. It has kind of a more kid feel to it, but these are kids. As I go through the books, I feel as though these kids and the tone of the stories also grow with them. So, I mean, you have to go with this as an open mind. Would I recommend this to older readers? Probably no older than me, at least not at first. This is probably for mid-20s and lower, but it's still a good universe, a good book, and I did enjoy it. It's not my favorite of the Harry Potter books, but it was good. It was enjoyable. So with that said, I'm going to end this review here. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, it was fun, good introduction to the Harry Potter world, and it was enough to make me want to continue to read to the next book. So with that said, this is Andrew saying, peace out for now.